Get ready for the unexpected because it's definitely going to be as part of today's video. Welcome back everyone to your weekly installment of the Reserve List Top 10. These are the hottest selling cards on the reserve list from September 7th to the 14th of 2024. And yeah, there's a few surprises in store, so buckle down and get ready. Hi everyone and welcome back to your weekly installment of the top 10 selling reserve list cards. I'm your host MTG Moxman here, as I'm always on this channel each and every day. So hey, let's get started with this. A reminder, if you enjoyed today's content, you can also support my channel by liking and subscribing, of course, or using my TCG Player affiliate link that is found in the description of this video. But enough chatter about me, let's get to the number 10 card. Now, number 10 is coming to us from Antiquities. This is Argivian Archaeologist. This should not be here, but it is. Now, guys, this card averages $150.74, a far cry from the $500 it used to command back in 2021. This card still had total sales of 26 sales in a single week, which is $3,919.24, and the majority of the copies selling were moderate to heavily played. So what does this card do? Well, for 2 white and 1 generic, and it's a 1/1 creature that says Summon Archaeologist, you can pay 2 white, tap to bring 1 artifact card from your graveyard back into your hand. Kind of an insane card back in the day that many of us still used and loved, and he is a beloved card of many a content creator on YouTube. But the idea that this many sales kind of spiked right now is something players need to be aware of. Now, for the number 9 card this week, it's Winding Canyons from Weatherlight. This thing had a huge surge because of the Commander deck with Atrocity, and now we've seen this thing been winding down. It didn't even make the top 10 last week. But as the prices start to fall, we're seeing some moderate sales start to kick back in. 34 sales this week for a total sales volume of $1,039.04, and the card has an average price of $30.56. But if you go on TCG Player, you can find it for 25 bucks or less, so it's something to pay attention to. Let's not forget that this is just a land card that says it, taps for a colorless mana, but it's the secondary ability that people want. Pay 2, tap the land, and until end of turn, you may play creature cards whenever you can play instant, so in effect, all your cards have flash. Now, this card has been talked about many times over the years, and it has a little bit of grip right now because of certain commander decks, and the supply on this thing is kind of shortened up right now, so the price isn't falling as fast as I thought it would, and the sales are kind of kicking up a bit, so enjoy the ride. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at our number 8 card this week. So, for number 8, this is Serra's Sanctum, and again, another card I definitely did not expect to be here from Urza's Saga. Now, this card comes in at 39 sales, or $10,509.33 this week, with an average price of $269.47 for a near mint copy. But yep, you're right, it's heavily played, moderately played copies that are selling because they are so much cheaper and easier to get into people's decks to play with. And yes, it's mainly Commander players buying these cards, so pay attention to it. This card is not going to see massive sales surging forward. It's just having a little bit of a resurgence right now due to the price being a little bit lower for a lot of players, and it's kind of falling into their wheelhouse of what they can afford, and they've always wanted to own one. I didn't expect it to be here, but that doesn't matter because it's here. Just like the Argivian Archaeologist, sometimes the oddest cards can make it into the top 10. Expensive or not expensive, they just hit it because players want the card. And that's the case. This isn't a buyout. This isn't speculation. This is players buying the card. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next card. Now, this is coming to us from Fallen Empires. This is Icatian Skirmishers. 77 cents a copy, 42 sales. It's only $32.34. So what's going on here with the good old Icatian Skirmishers? Well, number 1, don't forget it is a reserve list card. It is just a 1/1, and it costs 4 mana to cast it. So why would anyone in their insane world want to build with a card like this, other than myself, of course? Well, let's take a closer look. So for 1 white and 3 generic, and by the way, I do like the artwork, this thing has Summon Soldiers, something to pay attention to. This thing has Bands and First Strike. All creatures that band with Skirmishers, though, they gain First Strike until end of turn. And that is something to be aware of, because depending on how you use this card, how you can get it going, and who bands with this thing, you could have a massive, unstoppable army, and if you find a way to give this thing trample, well, that's game over, and there you have it. Guys, a 70-cent card that can end the game in the right circumstance. Yeah, I don't know why it's being bought, but it's hilarious, so let's go on. Now, people, for the next card, you're late to the party. This is Fastbond from Revised. It continues to be here in the top 10 with 44 sales this week, or $1,958 of total sales action. The card, as you can see in the screenshot, is trending down. I gave you a zoomed in one so you could see the actual arrow going down. We did talk about this last week, that this card is going to lose momentum since what happened with the whole thing with Top Deck. It's kind of crazy. But anyway, I still think there was some weird speculation and manipulation on the market space. So if this card ever becomes unbanned, it's an entirely different story. And players buying at this price point are purely holding the card because it can't really be played in that many formats. We'll have to see what the years do. But give this thing another 6 months, it's going to be back down to 20 bucks. It's going to have a slow decline, but it's going to get back down there. Okay, guys? So hold on. You'll get the card later. Now, for our next card. Here we have Deranged Hermit from Urza's Legacy, and this thing is holding on because of Bloomburrow, okay? This thing refuses to leave my top 10. 63 sales this week, $4,847.85, $76.95, and as a couple of people who emailed me mentioned, well, it's still cheaper than getting Sheoldred, so I'm buying this card because I want to play with it. A couple of people mentioned this the last few weeks. It's kind of funny that modern cards cost so much money, but they get reprinted and this thing doesn't. And of course, this thing's going to be used forever, and the supply is a little bit tighter than people realize. But that's neither here nor there. People who want the card are going to buy it. Let's not forget that when this thing comes into play, you get 4 squirrel tokens. They get treated as a 1/1 green creature. And then, of course, all squirrels you control get +1/+1. And this thing has Echo. There's lots of ways of making this guy pop in and out of the battlefield and building giant squirrel armies. People love the card. They love the idea of the card. And they're still buying it. And yes, it's still losing traction in the market. It's going down in price. Now for our next card. Guys, Rainbow Veil had a lot of sales. And 666 is the average price this week. 65 sales or $432.90. This thing is an amazing card, okay? I've always loved it, always enjoyed it. We used it back in the day with Zuranorb all the time by using it for any mana, sacking it, and then bringing it back later with Crucible Worlds and crazy stuff, but it was great with Fast Spawn. So what does this thing do? Well, it does tap to give you any color of mana to your mana pool, and that's important, okay? It's not a legendary land, don't forget. So back in the day, we had 4 of these in our decks. Tap to add 1 color of any mana to your mana pool, but then control the Rainbow Veil passes to your opponent at the end of the turn, which is why we always used to sacrifice it or find a way of popping it back into our hand. We had contingency plans to make sure we got the mana we needed, but then could unsummon it and use it at a later date. Either that or destroy it and gain some life. We never gave that thing up. But guys, we are getting a little bit lower in the list here. So what do you think our next card's going to be? It might surprise you. Guys, here we have it, okay? Opulescence is still here. It's got $42.28 as an average price. It had 68 sales, or $2,875.04. But if you look closely at the bar graph there from MTG Stocks, you'll see this thing is shooting down in price. Okay, it is not holding the bar. It is going down now, and do not catch this thing on the end of the falling knife. You want to be at the bottom of the butcher block when this thing hits bottom. It is not going to hold its price. I do not recommend buying at this price point. And it's a cool card. It's awesome. But it should be a $15 to $20 card and not above that. Don't join the speculators. Don't buy the FOMO. Save your money. Be smart. Shop as smart. And buy it about 6 months from now. Because it's not going to hold its price, okay? It's just not possible. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our next card. Enough of this jibber-jabbering. Let's get on to the debt of loyalty. $8.75 is the average price for our number 2 card. 127 sales, or $1,100, and $11.25 of total sales action. The cards selling are mostly near mint for this card, and a lot of players seem to be hooking on to the fact that this card can be used in a lot of different situations, and that is something they're trying to utilize it for. That doesn't mean it's going to hold its price. It doesn't mean that there's not a huge market availability of this card, but players still want it. So for 2 white, 1 generic, regenerate target creature and then gain control of the creature. Don't forget to look at the erratas. Take a closer look at the Wizard of the Coast website on the rulings for this card. You can't just regenerate some opponent's card for no random reason, their creature then take control of it. It has to be taking damage and stuff, and yeah, you gotta pay attention, okay? It's still a great card, still has lots of uses, and a way of gaining control of somebody's stuff for 3 mana, which is just amazing to me. This is a great card, by the way. It should be a $25 card, and it's not. The number 1 card is... Welcome back, Forsaken Waste. Looks like this card has something going on, guys. It's coming in at $17.88 on average, 416 sales this week, or $7,438 of total sales action. This thing is all because of what's going on with Duskmourn and that Commander deck. People are just going gaga over the idea of this card. But here's the thing. What people don't realize is the sales on this one are now slowing. I can see the sales drifting out as I'm looking at the card. Now it's a 1 black, 2 generic enchant world. Players can't gain life, and during each player's upkeep, that player loses 1 life. If Forsaken Waste is the target of a successfully cast spell, that spell's caster loses 5 life. It fits in well with the deck. It is reserve list. It is always going to have a place now, probably above the $10 mark, but at the same time, we don't know how much stock will come back to bear, and the sales are slowing. Let's get to the wrap-up of today's video's top 10. Market noise and market gossip. FOMO, fear of missing out. Garbage. Guys, what I've learned from all these years now doing YouTube, and they are starting to add up, the knowledge you attain from long-term exposure to markets in Magic the Gathering gives you a trend. And the trend is your friend because you can see how things are playing out over a longer period of time. A lot of people will pop into this channel and disappear after a year. Some people stick around for the entire length of this channel's lifespan. They've been here since the beginning. If you've been here that long, you know what I talk about. You understand how I look at the numbers and look at the card sales. The prices we're seeing for reserve list cards are not going to hold. There's not enough of a grip on the market supply other than the manipulation going on the backstop of things like Fast Bond. This kind of area shows weakness. These cards are going to dip. They are not going to stay at these prices. And there are many yummy cards that players want to buy, and those are the ones that aren't selling. We are not seeing a surge of reserve list cards like the dual lands coming back into play. They're having 4 or 5 sales a week right now. They have no chance of getting to the top 10 because these are the hottest selling cards, not the highest priced. Now, if I was going to give you guys a little insight, I'd say, hey, Mox Diamond still sold 10 copies. An Ancestral Recall sold this week. Yes, I could do a video on those. I've covered one video trying this concept out, and unfortunately it didn't have a big enough grip on the market, guys, to warrant the time it took. But I will be adding to that at some later date. But when I'm looking at these sales, I'm telling you the weakness is there. These cards won't stay up as high as they are. And although the sales overall on the reserve list are much greater than they should be at this time of year, I think that's due to wallet fatigue, players picking up and trading in modern cards to get cards like Serra Sanctum. Because of all that, we're seeing a greater sales volume across the entire spectrum of the reserve list, absolutely. But it's still weakness. The prices are still low. Even though the cards can be highly utilized, and we've seen these FOMO spikes, there are people making a ton of money on the backs of players not understanding how that market works. It's too bad. They don't watch me. Tough for them. Guys, thanks a lot for hanging out. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And of course, don't forget, we have a live stream tonight that should not fail. I'm really excited about it. I'll see you guys tonight. Hey guys, a big shout out and thank you. Because of the fantastic patrons of this channel, daily uploaded content gets created. Guys, if it wasn't for the patrons, I wouldn't even be here right now. So right now, as you watch all these names fly by, almost movie style, and you see all these cool people who help out the channel, yeah, man, take a minute. Learn the names. Get to know the faces. These people are special. No, they are. Take a look again. Come on, guys. Yeah. See you tomorrow. Well, the market has spoken. The sales are higher than I expected, and you've come to the end. So, dual lands are selling about 5 or 6 copies a week of any given type. No spikes, no bad stuff. Ramble jamble! At the same time, a couple of gauntlets and might sold. That's kind of interesting. We also had a few Legends cards pick up, including a couple Tabernacles, and I heard a rumor that seems 100% true that there was like a flood at 401 Games here in Toronto, and they had to, they had a whole bunch of damage in the basement, so they had to crack all kinds of Brothers War boxes, and apparently they found a Tabernacle, a Pendrel Veil, inside those Brother War, the lost Legends inside the packs. Yeah, they got lucky. Just saying, kind of interesting. I haven't got confirmation on that, but I heard it happen. So you guys will let me know if you know anything out there. Anyway, so by the time you're watching this video, my new internet is installed. It has been no problems. I've done speed tests and all kinds of things. I've had Mini Mox and Mrs. Mox, and we're trying to abuse everything to see if it holds up. And of course, I'm recording this sometime Saturday night. I'm looking at the gauges to see how things are running, and we look pretty good. So I'm feeling pretty confident that this live stream won't fail. It all comes at a cost, of course, but that's okay. That's what life's all about. Paying the piper. Guys, I'll see you later. Thanks for hanging out. Ramble jamble! Oh, Alpha Time Walk. Damaged. It sold too. Not cut in half or anything, just really beat up. It's a Time Walk. I love Time Walk.